So I want a little species value nature system. I need to remind you all of the old saying: "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." You could say, "Sticks and stones may break our bones, but words will never hurt us." And we're in that, but I won't say all those sayings. The sickly distinctly each age misses what is sickly non-distinctly fluently maintenance to the original racketeering method from semi-ancient times. Note semi-ancient times since before modern religions. Greatly about this not let free speech, each individual. Only when we are valuing the species nature of volume, the group nature of volume, and the individual nature of volume simultaneously, then it is in that sequence, it is in the sequence individual first, grouped, and then overall is rights. See, we're preventing free speech. And you're preventing counters to interbranch racketeering and their uses of aggression, interbranch individually crime predators, originally and still, interbranch grouped crime predators, originally and still, interbranch altogether. Every modern nation is in an identity of negative value nature progression. And there are live progressions already from those positions and uses of identities of the ground locations like Park Street, like Zion Street, on off Trinity College, on off CCSU with the same families. I never had a conversation with, never had a class with Charlie Bowes. His sister also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved people pretending to me to fake locations and things when I was in the past, trying to film things out of sequence and illusion, so they could lie about a fact treatment nature. I never had a class with, and he didn't go to my high school. Mike Kerr. I don't know about Jerry Kerr. I never saw him on the campus of my high school either. And before that, in middle school, they were already recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I never had a class with him anywhere, but they were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I barely know them from that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They're involved with all kinds of racketeering with judges, with overt criminal enterprises, with military, foreign, and domestic, and with sexual circles based on the roles with that with where they pretending illusions. They're sticking people into having everyone speak through others, preventing people names to counter this. These are people associated, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated crime roles and uses of Joshua Stryker for a whole bunch of natures of crimes. I never had a conversation with him either. Roles with this, and people with on off UPS involved with what is recorded crime roles with houses next to campuses that are involved with racketeering on the campuses, and they already were through time. It's a whole bunch of racketeering methods, roles that keeps a whole bunch of natures of liars and a whole bunch of means for them to hide it. And it's like a nervous system. Everyone through motivations need, they're just fighting how high criminal uses of positions and titles, who you know, not what you know. And who you know is criminally foreign influence and delusions wrought inter sciences. That's what's actually recorded. We have crime methods, a whole crime methods recorded against mandated law. They're pretending that means what it doesn't. That means they're pretending it means they're being coached to identity racketeering, identity thefts, identity frauds, torture, time treatments with the torture, always getting over on forever nature here. Identity scores. Fox Connecticut News, a whole bunch of people associated with Adam Domain and a Mike Domain. I never had a conversation with, never had anything to do with Adam Domain. Never had Loki. His brother, I barely know him. He recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering with people associated with WFSB racketeering crime acts and methods. Recorded, also confessed. Now, these are people that were crimes leading up to and in a 2006 case with a whole bunch of people tied to house slash SMI area further involved with people on the child sex offender maps, real or made up, involved with them with further racketeering, with other natures of crimes, and with their doctors and interbranch that put them away, and with the prison clicks, all recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved criminally with the same extended family member of one of the ones involved with that. And like a principal sex offenders campus, these are the same ones involved further through time with people around a corner in a church, a school, and houses around and businesses around a school on the corner of Church of in Hartford, on the corner of Park Street and New Park Avenue. Now, these are also people who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated crimes with a whole bunch of places on Farmington Avenue, with former director of the FBI down, his lawyer, and a whole bunch of people associated with that, and with a whole bunch of names from my town with interbranch and on and off the state judicial branch offices. They also have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they have the distances of your database relationships to where you're going to sit in a cafeteria used for evidence racketeering for with these crime methods actually recorded. And they have color used by this interbranch, intercultural, white power groups with who are undercover that way recorded involve racketeering with interbranch family members, even black women judges with other female judges, crimes with the principal sex offenders campus then and now, further with states attorneys and with prosecutors involved, their family members involved. They've been used for, they have crime methods already involved with that. Now they're live progressions. Now they need to hide what's actually recorded, and they have been doing that by faking things. And they had WFSB attach me and my family member to fake locations, fake conversations with themselves, fake sequence. They did this, recorded, confessed with federal, in collusion with federal criminals that my parents won cases against. My father won an NLRB case against a union with a whole bunch of people associated with Union 230, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated further involved with retired and standing Weathersfield police and the police chief and his daughter. And they say they have their kids, and the prosecutors have the kids involved with crimes. So now they're needing to pretend emotions and passions. So they're valuing that, and how we only had emotions and past things were not written, were in collusion with them using time always too fast, and in themselves recording collusion. CCSU is also involved with raising people to be leaderships of prisons. Their whole families are recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with crime methods that already originally still had the identity of the ground that CCSU is and all that it's involved with a whole bunch of nations as fake sides with racketeering that's right through them, legalized, known and unknown, but the known and the unknown together are in collusion. Suits and ties, counters to it since semi-ancient times, recorded in relationship to their quality of fact treatment nature. For example, their opinions when someone needs to make about crime acts in actual sequence, identity thefts interbranch. We go into courts. The courts are being attaching little kids to fake locations through time with sick people. They're getting away with it, all that tied to it because of their uses. They use DACA, the program DACA, but this is a crime method that was here since before our founders. In other words, before Trinity College was Trinity College, before it was George Washington College, George Washington had to come and only could semi-counter extort that with overt slavery in Weathersfield / Hartford, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, even with the French general's help, having to meet with him here, Weathersfield / Hartford. So, the identity of the ground and relationships to all the formal fake in collusion with private organized crime criminal enterprises and overt ones and military, all juxtaposed, recorded through the same roles within as the same organized crime method. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a police form, not a criminal. They recorded, set up people like Paul Manafort. On and off Paul Manafort Drive, they're recorded. There's a Chet Casper and our people associated with downtown Hartford, further involved with these two Mendez police and two Adam Demain and Mike Demain, and Allison Mulcahy here and her sister. I never had a conversation with them. Never had a class with them. But these are male and female police forums on and off Fox Connecticut News, and building with people in the buildings next to them involved with database crimes and involved with wire crime methods and mail crime methods. And they're being coached to hide their fake news, where they attach me to fake locations, attach little kids to fake locations with child sex offenders. They also have retired and standing police chiefs involved criminally with the houses in my area, directly and indirectly facilitated to it. Former director of the FBI down, federal criminal code defendants of his in a 2006 case recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with these courts, having been involved, pretending to perceive things, pretending to record things, per that actually recorded, and a whole bunch of people, strangers, asked for help regarding this. They said that they would be my sources. So regarding if they want to be it or not, I locked in what they said, actual, because these are sequence shifts and they didn't realize what they were confessing. But when I was in high school, this is also tied to that. The identities of the ground, like next to CCSU. CCSU itself is recorded and confessed and demonstrated and involved with white power groups and with black families with interbranch judges retiring and standing in prison cliques involved with a whole bunch of natures of evil against the kids, uses of it and justifications of it. They can't justify on paper, and not by accident. This is why we have to have forced countered their crime method uses of the grammar schools, crime methods that are very subtle because it's a vertical and horizontal crime method. This is already recorded, forcing the kids to self-value, fake care, and juxtaposed evil aggression with the kids, and total spreading lies with overt criminal enterprises with them, like a Joshua Julian. This is how they have the identity of the Coast Guard recorded originally and still, how they have each nature of campus, the training of them involved with racketeering. In other words, and sequence racketeering. We need to be counter this through the sequence, because we have a whole bunch of styles of liar offensively pretending they're not liars, using databases, even attaching people to fake conversations and about things they need to speak about, but saying things all wrong, then pretending, and then so everyone can play stupid and then be coached, and they're discrediting us from the background. There were a whole bunch of people associated with it. Dr. Brendan Leahy and his son, I think his son's name, Dr. too. I never had a conversation with either of them. That are a whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court, with Hartford courts, with judges retired and standing, and with prison cliques tied to them, with crimes with databases, intercampuses, a whole bunch of people through time with CCSU involved with, and with Trinity College involved criminally with Park Street, and uses of physical cultures with their fact treatment nature racketeering, identity racketeering too, because these are people that, again, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, retired and standing police forms associated with two speech clashes I had in high school, for example. Also tied to other classes I had where I had, in other words, where they have where they recorded themselves involved with sequence shifts, with identity racketeering, they with crime methods where they tell people to have conversations with kids because they're pretending someone's going to lie, because just to fit a whole bunch of people with fake sides of correlation nature, when each of those people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they were involved with crimes with judges retired and standing, with a whole bunch of people with Wethersfield Police retired and standing, but the police chiefs and detectives and their family members were involved criminally, and former director of the FBI down, other agencies. There's a Scalora family recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with identity thefts, pretended to record things that to know me. I don't know them, and then that was Subby Scalora. And then there are other people in the Scalora family that are tied to that, because I was in anticipation. Those are the people through time that were confessed and recorded and demonstrated criminally involved with my grammar school when I was in grammar school. and each of the grammar schools in town are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated about it. And these are the same people, intercities involved with the racketeering and other methods and natures of crimes, recorded actually upon north end of Hartford through time, New Haven, where they have a lot of shootings, real and or made if made up, because the news is recorded also making things up and pretending people have conspiracy theories. They use that as a crime method where they're fact cheating nature, racketeering, evidence racketeering natures, using the identities of the branches still originally still states and areas criminally foreign influence, needing to hide that, needing to force collusion with all that is individually grouped in together by presidents, forcing them to collusion. Think Barack Obama had free speech? Think President Trump had free speech? No. Boxing was no. So there's a 2006 case we'll examine with defendant, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, who's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a pattern of racketeering leading up to and in the Trade Center attack with the Connecticut interbranch, intermilitary. They're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they stacked a whole bunch of people to verbal fact cheating nature where they're pretending to perceive things and pretending to record things and with the identity thefts and identity frauds rules with like West Farms Mall and with the military, police, foreign and domestic, with the news media involved with the racketeering, stole my identity. WFSB, Better Connecticut News, is recorded, confessed, also involved with a whole bunch of people with racketeering they have on off the location of WFSB. And so these are people crimes with child, the principal sex offenders campus further with extended family members and roles with the leaderships of campus principals, the training of them, the different the counselors. These people are involved with social cliques that are involved with everyone speaking to others. They're spreading sick categorical lies that no one can fathom, and they're preventing count. See now, I'm saying, what do you call it? Sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me. I'm not saying for personal reasons. I'm saying because these are courts that are recorded and confessed and demonstrated attaching little kids to fake locations through time. These are people that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated each have fluency through each administration. Keeping there's a whole bunch of people associated with Anthony Yagman, Daniel Yagman, and some other names with the Yagman family and houses around Samuel Dick's house. People associated with the Mike Pandolf and Anthony Pandolf, and I don't know his other brothers' names, that are also recorded, confessed, and involved with racketeering through time, with people involved with legal and criminal body dumping spots, racketeering with databases at CCSU, various natures of departments, involved with sequence shifts, with pretending to perceive things, pretending to record things, pretending, and for these are people involved crimes with the judges that are from off campuses with their police, with the courts, interbranch police, and family members attaching everyone to fake location, sequence shifts, fake things in databases, and using effective crime method roles with this that are also keeping the overt criminal enterprises recorded, also how having to keep and how having kept needed to hide the same lies as the branches. So then they pretend undercover is just undercover lies, like all that associated with Mayano family, with locations on Maple Street and on off Trinity College, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated sequence racketeer mail crime clicks rolls, sequence shift rolls, a whole bunch of people on off Two Ride Highway and Hangdog Lane recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with the Britain Superior Court with a Mayano family. And these are the people racketeering acts further and further natures of racketeering illegal because of their criminal uses of courts to fake recorded things into courts databases and interbranch databases, Weathersfield Police, forging names, switching names. And they're also doing this intercities, switching the names and numbers of the departments involved criminally, putting fake recorded officers, forging names, switching names, making confessions, preventing anything in writing criminally. In the Britain Superior Court recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they've been falsifying police reports, attaching little kids to fake locations, even with judges, even with prosecutors. This long-standing and newer involved criminally. A whole bunch of names. They pretend that means something too, because they already pretended fake conversations with me. That's why they had to have WFSP steal me to a fake location, steal little kids to fake locations with the principal sex offender. They also do tricks where they make family members fight because they're forcing everyone to speak with with police, and they're recorded confessing, demonstrating themselves. They're going to threatening. I mean, they're not, non-verbally, but they're recorded with these crime acts and methods, mail crimes, wire crimes. These are people leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context tied to a proven sequence shift from Connecticut, but in as defendants and as the former director of as defendants from intercities involved with the campuses then and further criminal other natures of crimes then and now with the principal child offender. So it's all right. People want to have fights and use calling each other names, and there are needs to call each other names because there are uses of aggression. And Facebook has recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminal crime acts roles with a whole bunch of doctors and judges and prosecutors and states attorneys and people associated with DACA and online policing and their algorithms ties to words and their convictions by that tactically ulterior from the Constitution because they're sequent. They're preventing mandated law. They're lying about the substance of what people say because it's actually recorded. They're pretending they don't see the evidences and forging names and switching names and further. So confessing, demonstrating roles with it. Torture. They have female judges recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involve racketeering with sexual, medical, and all kinds of abuses, even with the counters of it. People that work sexual circles associated with the Department of Children and Families, also involving the prison leaderships, also involving houses and locations on and off the campuses with the training of people undercover and stuff like that. Whole bunch of houses on Church Street in Old Weathersfield, all the way up that route, tied to the house on the corner there too, all the way up that route to CCSU, right through Newington, on corners, people associated with mobile gas station locations next to them recorded, confessed, and demonstrated were facilitated to roles where they could pretend to perceive things because their roles with Justice Department, Washington, D.C., originally still recorded criminally foreign influence uses of them remotely. And their roles with that now being used, their past recorded, confessed, and demonstrated all kinds of natures of racketeering, actual, vertical, and horizontal database racketeering, worse, used for identity thefts, sequence shifts. That's all right. They want to pretend things in the background. Respond. Don't make me draw a map to you guys. There are the female judges, a whole bunch of female judges, black and white too, involved with that, with the racketeering, with the military police, with that theme, with the child offender roles. So they're putting those are people in recorded pretending to be against prejudice and things like that to counter the racketeering methods and roles and uses of them fake sides. And preventing counters, preventing people from knowing the name, like the black kid associated with the men. You know how scary it is to say use black. See, they're forcing that though. No, that's what you guys, our leaders, are telling us. Oh, we should say other than, and then where it's about what behavior. They're leaving behavior and emotions out of their course. They're preventing mandated law, but they're preventing free speech offensively, simultaneously, criminally, pretending to be for it. Follow mandated law. That's free speech. Don't pretend to be about free speech when you're doing that. We have directors, people associated intercities. We have programs associated with that, with the theater of movie making. That with the sensibilities, they have people propped up Oh, that's the market. That's the only way. Well, who's even talking about your offensive? Who are you even talking? We need to have mandated law followed. We need to have mandated law followed. What you can't use sarcasm, pretend to be against, but pretend to be against the round earth. Yeah, they have a problem. They have a problem because they need to blame recorded standing, actual causes of recorded standing, sick integrity of conviction nature, quality of fact treatment nature by our sciences as the value of them actually. Need to pretend knowledge of them of, oh, I know an algorithm of what? This is the algorithm. This is this is the nature of volume we are. That has sequence unto itself value. True. See, we have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated how. They want to believe about debatable. So we need to have crime acts. But if they have the Britain Superior Court recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They use confessions, their own confessions about their roles with police forms on off CCSU, private people that don't. In other words, a detective Samuda pretend I was an arresting officer. Me, he switched his identity with a guy from East Hartford with the name Magnanos, also close spelling to Manos, Steve Manos. Manos. I don't know the spelling, but he's also a guy, and people associated with him recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with on off a whole bunch of people on off CCSU, on off UConn, who were involved with vertical and horizontal identity thefts, with police forms, foreign and domestic, with overt criminal enterprises. That's why that um these are people with locations on off the campuses connected. And these are people with the crime method, for example, pretending they want privacy. When they don't want privacy, in other words, and where that's true, it's juxtaposed with other motivations, nature. If they wanted privacy, they would follow mandated law. They wouldn't keep attaching me to fake conversations. They wouldn't allow little kids to be attached to fake locations because they needed to pretend things about what they did on Facebook, which is rolls with the branches with a whole bunch of natures of crimes further and uses of identity the grounds from off the campuses on off campuses. Attaching, they used to have the whole bunch of people with the name Alicia. I never had a conversation with. And the other, in other words, I didn't make opinions about any exceptions with two or three of them. But that's involved also with uses of names with people with the same name. Their roles with other nations on and off CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering, keeping our branches criminally in foreign influence individually grouped and together, all private tied to them, especially regarding prisons. Real sick families revolve further with the principal child sex offender. Again, former director FBI down. Whole bunch of people with the CIA and with Wethersfield police, real or made up, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that a Scalora family is involved with them criminally, and with a whole bunch of people on and off Two Rod Highway and Hang Dog Lane, and with a Victorian house on that street, and with a house that's like a brick, and a house across the street from it. Now these are a whole bunch of natures of racketeering. These are a whole bunch of people need to pretend emotions and passions because and steal my voice. Like WFSB had to pretend me to fake locations. They had to pretend little kids to fake locations, so I couldn't tell on a principal sex offender then caught anyway. But I was trying to tell on other rape threats against the kids too, and other sick people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with racketeering with and as other extended family members of a house slash S in my area that came in when I was in fourth grade and ones that were here. recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering further. These are also people involved, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved with racketeering with people from Sandy Hook, Newtown, and with prison cliques there, leaderships of it. Same ones racketeering with uses of each of the departments at CCSU, distinctly criminally, and each of the departments of the campuses at each the departments at each campus sickly distinctly to keep how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. Not one has learned. I'm not trying to speak about debatable. I want to know who disbelieves because they're forging names, switching names. They know if they can force you into into the court or into a police station, they're not going to tell what they're already recorded, forging names, switching names, pretending people face. They use those faces recorded when I was a kid. There's a Chris Walters. I didn't even know. Recorded, confessed, to demonstrate. They attach him all these fake words. Then he's recorded, confessed, to demonstrate, involved with a whole bunch of people at Trinity College who had everyone speaking through others. Then they invested them in deans to racketeering with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, Robert Chevalier, and a whole bunch of federal criminal code defendants of and federal criminals tied to the code defendants involved racketeering with people that went to schools with me. And in other words, they don't give you anything to counter. And they forging names, switching names. They have a Joe Aiello is also one of the names recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminal uses of crime roles with judges, with uses of Facebook, with interbranch police forms. A whole bunch of people tied to a Joe DeMauro and a Michael Kerr involved with him, with crime acts roles with Weathersfield Police and Fire in a park through time. Houses on the park, a whole bunch of police forms with CCSU criminally involved with the park, criminally involved with each identity of the ground location. They use whole groups for sequence racketeering so they can pretend to use time always too fast, too slow in courts. They're one-way reports. They're criminally always sickly, too fast, too slow in court. They're recorded how they're kept needing to not just recorded, but recorded how kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive, and worse identity racketeering lies with their criminals. And they're recorded household valuing the means to pretend other because they're throwing him into prison. That's recorded. Well, they're also self-valuing with themselves, recorded conscious that we have criminally foreign influence precedents and statutes, breaching method applied effectively originally and still. This is where religion failed. This is what American history is really about. See, CNN recorded, confessed, and demonstrated people within the intelligence community, former director of the FBI, is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with them with racketeering leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context. Ninth Circuit was proven post-dated documents that had been shown to the panel of judges in the Ninth Circuit right before the Trade Center attack. No, that's a court right in Manhattan, right next to the Trade Center, where it was, where still is maintained, where each identity of the ground involved with racketeering. Now there are retired and standing interstates fire inspectors. And see, these are roles with uses of the ground, uses of each age of fact nature criminally. For identity racketeering, they have the identity, the grounds, uses by this self-valued criminal foreign influence involved with the fact nature, torture, and slavery of our founders. If you really know what's recorded about American history, but we have other forced glorified, and we have the justifications of that repeated where criminally foreign influence delusions rot. We have all kinds of natures of election crimes. Each modern nation is simultaneously individually grouped and together, for shared, sick, incapable of defending the roles with and as forced to be per sanctions, threats, and natures of torture and of worse than war crimes originally. Still don't have the sophistication for, not by accident. That's where and how especially psychology, has a whole bunch of nations. We have Pakistan, Italian. Like we have a whole bunch of a whole bunch of people with CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved criminally with two mobile gas stations on the South Highway with other nations and with overt criminal enterprises and with the policing of the stores, and especially regarding the policing of drugstores and their racketeering roles with databases, roles with wire crime clicks, mail crime clicks of juxtaposed natures. And that's also the undercover, pretending they're only undercover, but they're actual racketeering roles with mail and wire crime identity thefts. Like a whole bunch of people with UPS recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of natures of real, but of juxtaposed ulterior from their actual racketeering act roles. Everyone's speaking through other. They're involved with an Oliveri family and with a Joshua Stryker and with a whole bunch of people on that route and on off the state judicial branch offices, which is a little bit off their location, houses next to it, the sale of that. People, all families associated with the sale of the land next to it and the houses, the conversion to it. Recorded, confessed, and these are the people involved with the child offenders. You recorded actually, they have crime methods and natures and roles with a whole bunch of other motivation, whole bunch of bad with kids, as people pretending to be against bad, as people pretending it, not only pretending it, not only recorded pretending it, and not only recorded pretending it for real reasons that they're pretending are their real motivations, but those are also recorded juxtaposed with actual real reasons. They're being dishonest about what they have means, not by accident to pretend. Like, that's the precedent is equal for all. Go to jail. You know, we have too many names. They have name stacking as a crime method recorded. They're forcing people to speak about other people. These campuses recorded, confessed, and demonstrated to me that New Britain Superior Court, the Harvard courts, were involved with racketeering. Now, it's a federal crime not to report the things that that were confessed and were asked for help for me from. And I knew that, so I tried to do it. I also knew that I was aware that of a whole bunch of different natures of crimes and needs to hide life progressions tied to the spots involved. Because they were pretending these are people, these are methods and natures of crimes required where they pretend to perceive things, knowing they've already been involved with vertical and horizontal database crimes, racketeering, identity racketeering, sequence racketeering, worse natures and methods and roles with crimes of other natures mixed. They're so there are a whole bunch of Wethersfield police, retired and standing, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering acts roles with judges, with various natures of courts, and with their family members. All roles with houses in my area. They want to have problems between people. It's nothing personal. But if you want to fight about debatable and you want to use aggression and you want to use shoot one shifts, forging names and switching names and things like that. See, a Joe Aiello is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by Wethersfield police, retired and standing, involved with a whole bunch of wire crime, mail crimes with them, with people involved with child sex offenders further. Clicks, sex offenders, family members involved with other natures of racketeering, especially if they made that up, especially if they're undercover, just being on the sex offender registry. There's also the principal sex offender, real or made up, because they have WFSB attached to kids to fake locations. So you don't know because they have roles worse with other child sex crime acts with the campus, with the uses of the Facebook of it, They're spreading lies through the kids because they already invested the interbranch need to hide live aggressions because they already used the right to get away with hiding live aggressions that they're rolled with personally, individually grouped with racketeering, other method of it. Worse than racketeering, worse than war crimes. Originally, still, this forced slavery in the North stayed. In many prayed. This forced the nature of counter that our founders could only reach to hope for, prevented free speech. And that forced glorified. We lost. We want American history. I'll show you how too. These are the same people involved with criminal uses of Newington Library as the ones associated with Heather Hansen. Houses on Church Street with agencies, foreign and domestic, involved with them criminally. Drugs attaching me and my family members. I never was depressed in my entire life, by the way. I swear to God, I never told anyone I was depressed in my entire life. Now, see, if you try to talk about things, they're going to be people that aren't depressed. They're going to say they're depressed, trying to have a conversation with people who don't understand what they're trying to say. In other words, they need to counter people forging names, switching names. You guys don't know any. You guys never saw a former director of the FBI as a co-defendant, like in a 2000 district court case. Also, people with the media, employees of it. They have everyone like a standee. They use them remote. They have them involved with other methods and natures of crimes. Way worse than they go and they pretend outrage against people because even when they're right sometimes, even when people actually do what they say they did, they're attaching worse, and they're blocking away worse. No, in other words, differentially. In other words, we have whole methods of crimes forced against each age of fact-cheating nature. What's pretending that's not recorded needs to pretend that we can only afford so much. The logic of politics is politics in money distribution. They know that it's not that alone. They know we have means beyond this. Are you sick? We have criminally foreign influence zoning laws that were associated with the pathology, the infrastructure, only allowed to be fathomed, even spoke about before our founders were even born here. This was entrenched and was sophistication before any other nature of it. All juxtaposed. Styles, natures, needs, life. So we have this industry. We're going to take 13 counter positions to the forced glorified fact-cheating nature slavery of our founders, and we're gonna heal the ancient gaming system, which reveals science, fruits, and means. One way redeems. So WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. WTNH are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They're being coached to hide their racketeering against citizens, against whole campuses, intercities connected with a racketeering method. We have military involved with identity theft. We have military involved with stolen glory of citizens. We're like with this Robert Schedule, his sister, involved with Connecticut military, other families involved with military, like associated with a Soto family. There's a Soto family associated with a Fred Gruzet, who is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of people with the Delafair family, and judges retired and standing, real sick with the kids, and crime rolls with drugs, private I mean, formal and other, actual overt gang drugs, and they pretend their roles were undercover, whatever. In other words, he's also recorded and confessed to demonstrate a whole bunch of people with New York City involved with racketeering here. Now, see, these are people too stupid to pretend to have integrity as experts on logic originally and still. We have a problem with the racketeering natures associated with them also involved with the name stacking, fake with conversations with people, forging names, switching names, pretending I had a conversation with them or anybody ever about my father being recorded by police. These are people who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated crimes with overt criminal enterprises, other nations' police, private, and all in collusion, and private media also tied to interbranch sources that invest them to, racketeering with them, where they're preventing free speech. Their identity theft crime acts roles, wire crime roles, mail crime roles. These are people preventing counters to extortion, all this stuff, and torture, identity theft, right? All this stuff I mentioned since before the Trade Center attack. In a straight line, I tried to report things. Therefore, they thought I was going to report things through other people. I did it the way I wanted to, through the people I wanted. They forging switch names because I caught them dead cold because I knew they were using those identity grounds because they had illusions with kids that didn't make sense in their mind when I was a kid. So they made confessions about that identity ground and about those people like this about this and about how they're pretending to perceive things. He knows we were never friends. I never tried to contact Justin Klavinskis in my life. He's involved with a whole bunch of people interbranch with color that pretend passions and emotions tied to it when they know they need to pretend that because they were involved, recorded themselves with sequence racketeering, database crime rules. When I was a freshman, there's Weatherfield Police. Each year of my schools recorded distinctly and non-distinctly the interbranch racketeering with databases and with the distances where people are going to walk after that and with uses of it. They have what is manifest tied to the branch has been liars since founding, pounding drums, criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought, self-valued roles with what was propagated only allowed to be that. I'm not saying they're not victims, but they're high predators, and we need mandated law followed. These people hurting people every day. Hear many pray. They are incapable of a court, one-way report. The bridge the same way they originally weren't. If you're dealing with color, you're obviously, in other words, shut it down. No, I'll wake up. My thought. Okay, whatever. Vaccines. They tells us things. So we're gonna take counter positions, 13 counter positions. And we're gonna give James Madison a brother, and we're gonna switch the colors. But we'll put both colors too, just so we don't make any. So we're together countering the white slaves in the movie. But it's not to play a game though. This is not for entertainment. This is to counter a nature of theater called criminal insidiousness nature. This is to counter motivations, nature's needs and roles with archetypal criminal enterprise. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but recorded, confessed, and demonstrated even their motivations of lawyers to defend types of law treatments that left out originally and still sequence racketeering, left out actually recorded criminally foreign influence precedents and statutes, left how they're pretending not to realize that and how they are actually incapable of realizing it because they're already invested, having pretended legitimacy where they have none originally and still. They are the proverbial king with no clothes, to quote a Disney book. They call it that because they want to keep the individual nature voice of a king sickly distinctly not allowed free speech, to keep sickly distinctly how non-distinctly from being discerned effectively. Not one has learned since semi-ancient times, since before modern religions, not through by accident, through generations. It's not the first part of the Quran and the first um, part of the Old Testament are allowed to be used to demonstrate all the criminally foreign influenced and delusions wrought takes on these holy books out of sequence. The first parts are critical. And this is about in the first part of the Quran, for example, same thing. It's easier to demonstrate. It's about criminal insidiousness natures of liars, of treatments of positive that are pseudo positive. How that was going to be forced self value, not the identity that is simultaneously distinctly and non distinctly onto and as the value of all things. Box things, it only gains the volume. Its volume here. It lifts and gifts. It gives one way alone, or else it leaves. Leaf of IDs for space nature transfer. So now, Earth simultaneously distinct and non distinct relationship to the nature of the rest of the nature of space is forced away from here. Our little species of the one of all these species too long stole Earth's value away as our own, as forever nature. We are an unceasing, our physical bodies are valued by and as the positing of forever nature, as identity nature, where our complete identity simultaneously unceasing semi-nature relationship per science, in relationship to one identity that has all other identities of value progression individually grouped and together bonded. And not only bonded, but bonded by its semi-nature of itself. And as though as itself. All the semi-natures of our body are bonded by our complete nature. And by its only allowed to make more and more temporary positive, that is also what it wants to be more and more for the perfection of its a little bit more and more of its semi-nature coming in here with what within as the value of what is simultaneous. The identity of value progression that generated everything in the first place. Could deny that science, want to debate it, but they're doing so with physical delusions, with value treatments. So further invested value defended, then how free speech was never allowed either any of the religions. They're all forced to be stupid theater. This is buying in the original stupid theater that is called criminal insidiousness nature. That was the breaching racketeering method using human fact-cheating nature that motivated all to roles with their own slavery, seeing the real causes of it, but blaming it, but only seeing incomplete causes of it, and blaming it on that because all it's just complicated. We have worse than obfuscated our identity value progression. And the actual quality and value of the individual, of everyone who's not into branch, and of each age of fact treatment nature, forsaken. Because everything formal is forsaken on their heads, self-valued that way. So, species coach, just one believe, who disbelieve. We'll get the names of the judges to one name in sequence because they have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They have long-standing prosecutors involved with worst natures of crimes, intercities through times, as the worst natures of predators with fact treatments, pretending, oh, we're one side, that's another. These are against correlation nature's trinity. This is sick thing. When I can't get a response for WFSB stealing me to fake location, stealing little kids to fake locations, lying to their family members, doing this with police forms when there were kids involved with all kinds of sick sexual circles and things like that. People associated with this Mendez police too, also in with Wethersfield Police Department and with New Britain Superior Court, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated crime acts roles with female judges, with child sex offenders, prosecutors, drug clerks with New Britain Superior Court, a whole bunch of people with them. It, there are victims advocates recorded, confessed, and demonstrated used by crime methods to sequence shift and to pretend they're against what they are for through time. These are also vertical and horizontal through time racketeering act roles and uses of victims advocates to prevent speech while they're letting other people stack lies into databases, and then they just put fake recorded words and things into databases with everyone else. And this is a nature and method of child abuse, age of fact cheating nature, simultaneously sickly, distinctly, and non distinctly cared for. It's all right if they want to have violence, something like that. Pick one name in sequence. Pretend to. So we have problems that are they're stacking more names. WFSB, they're stacking more roles. Now they have to make up lies to and with further collusion with West Farmers Mall. I don't even know the names of the people there. I just know they're involved with the identity racketeering and some bad interbranch actors originally still, intermilitary originally still. It's all right, they want to pretend things, but don't pretend it's not recorded. There's an Eric Burgess recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. A whole bunch of men and women recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Deans from at least 3 campuses involved with racketeering acts, criminal uses of their own family members, forging names, switching names, uses of them to go back and say things because they're using criminal. They have each of the identities of the departments of each of the natures and ages of campuses individually grouped and together, criminally foreign influenced. Even the identities of the sciences. How's that? Who disbelieves? The reason I ask who disbelieves because they're forging names, switching names. That's evidence. They're lying about what's evidence. Oh, I don't see it. They play the game. Oh, see no evil, hear no evil. And they're lying about that because they're evil, because they're making things up, forging names, switching names. Now it's recorded how women are motivated to be and stay high predators into branch. How they are used by men. It's recorded into branch. They're already invested. They already got over on too many people. Forgiveness is for this. That's not politics. It's individual grouped and together crime methods. Crime methods perfected for the individual Wethersfield police involve criminally foreign influence. Sickly, distinctly, non-distinctly, per as what keeps the other branches. Overt criminal enterprises, private ones, all juxtaposed nature but by one method. That's completely evidence as racketeering roles. They use them collusion. You fight about things, then you have to rely on these creeps. Nations grouped, prisons and justice departments and fact treatments, they're racketeering natures. Their uses of and roles with Facebook recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by the Britain Superior Court. Involved with people that keep the campuses criminally foreign influence, keep them roles with what kept database stewards, their treatments of behavior, their treatments of counters to it. They have focused efforts to force the reactions they need so they can play the fact treatment nature racketeering method. There's a Dr. Gilmore, and there are a whole bunch of doctors associated with houses. A house on the corner of Church Street and Main Street in Old Wethersfield. And there's a Hanson family. a Bruce Hansen, his wife. He's got like 3 or 4 brothers and a daughter, Heather Hansen. Other houses on that street are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with them, with houses in my area, with real estate companies, involved with crimes with judges and with child sex offenders. And what brought that up, which is untimely deaths and uses of those untimely deaths tied, and the timing of their connections, like on and off the campus of Trinity College, especially if made up, and especially if not made up, on and off. And just because I'm using other people's reporting, that's why they're also preventing us from using how. In other words, these are also recorded, confessed criminal uses of roles with pilots' families, leading up. These are people leading up to it in the Trade Center attack context, leading up to and in Connecticut cases tied where they're using cases, they're using depositions, they're using areas to pretend to perceive things, to pretend to record things. Now they're stuck like that, so they're recorded, needing to hide how they're pretending passions and emotions. And that's evidence. That's actually recorded evidence. They're needing to hide the value of sequence. True. Now, these are people on and off CCSU, on and off Trinity College, already criminal uses of insurance police, same people associated Washington, D.C. sick, same people associated war crimes, worse than war crimes. No one knows how to charge it. It's used effectively, originally and still, to keep fakes with private fact treatment values. You can't value in us and the surface value of the Constitution at the same time. You can't be anything but a lipogression, and a lipogression cover-up nature style in relationship to what really needs to be discerned by correlation with free speech. Prevented originally and still. Stick trick fakes pretending to be about, oh, I want the right to swear. They don't give you the right to swear, but they won't give you the right to swear first after they're already involved with uses of their policing of Facebook for crimes with the principal sex offenders campus, then and further, with as the ones involved further with the child campus at the end of New Park Avenue and Park Street at that corner there. Now these are other campuses on Park Street involved with the racketeering. This is various natures of Hartford courts involved criminal uses of these areas. There's a whole bunch of people associated with a Hunter. I don't know if it's his real name or not. Won't put in there. They're involved with wire crime, mail crime rackets, rules with judges criminally involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, Robert Chevery, his lawyer's office, and the location of that on Farmington Avenue down the street from the Harriet Beecher Stowe slash Mark Twain House. Connected locations. No, Harriet Beecher Stowe is the author attributed to the concept of Jim Crow. It's all right. People have opinions on that. Region still preventing racketeering from being the subject there. Not one person has allowed it to be the subject of all that. In other words, and that reveals the subject. That reveals criminal insidiousness nature as a whole bunch of ways being the subject. Theater. So now they need to keep theater. Oh, it's you're a cool theater, you're a cool guy or not, and that's just our job. We're only trying to stay looking cool. There comes times they have to smash the room because people want to stay. Amen and pray. And they know this, and that's why they attach people to fake yelling into databases. They pretend people say they're depressed because they're involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering, not just because they have money and motivations for drug rolls, so they can make more money selling drugs. They have motivation, natures roles to pretend to be only about the money. so they can pretend not to realize they've been forging names, switching names, sequence shifting. Drug crime rolls with overt criminal enterprises through the directors, foreign and domestic, and collusion. There's here and there. They can't do anything but be a formal fake. CT must break. So England too, America. This is America. I'm American. This is for America. I'm saying England too. All the aggression on the face of your mayor is sick. Check his premise treatment quality, his fact treatment nature quality. And because we have mayors over here also, we have a former mayor Gold. We have involved with racketeering right through administrations, with child sex offender cliques that are with other natures of federal crimes. And this just reminds. We have deans also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated on and off campuses crime acts roles. See, they have the campuses, they have them make confessions and demonstrations from off campuses too. And so they have this but they have the campuses insulated too. So you can't get a response in writing. And then they have the black and white with it. You'll see how there are high racketeering uses of black and white as the stewards of it. You'll see how they are raised as sick victims, sick victim predators, though. High predators are stewards, each one of them, each single one of them. And they're trying to force that to each leader. Leaders know it, but they don't know how to counter it. They're awes. They're awes. The only way to counter it is because I have it, it's recorded actually. See, but we have people, we have the good people that our humanity is, all victims, needed someone to help them out, needed to tell lies with that, and those lies are already self-valued, already rolls with the already inherent active, progressive, and way worse abuses of each age of fact treatment nature, subtle and overt juxtaposed. Not one have roles. All right! All rise. Be tribes. And note the sequence. Someone trying to pretend, because I was saying trial tribes, but all the tribalism or whatever. Maybe they had they're making tribe bad. Tribe is good or bad, but it's definitely temporary positive. Definitely. And nothing else is yet. Since some ancient times. This just reminds. All rise.